we are achieving scientific results that are unprecedented. The science is good, the reasoning for go-to-market is good, the solution they're delivering is very urgent for many, many markets. If you don't know where you want to get, every opportunity will look perfect.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Science VC, a podcast about deep tech startups, venture capital, and more. I'm JP Orlov, and my guest today is Larissa Farias Viana. Larissa is the CEO of APEXzymes, a biotech startup producing cost-effective enzymes to unlock sustainable industrial applications. APEXzymes was founded in Brazil and is currently focusing on biofuels and cattle feed, with the goal of increasing efficiency and reduce methane emissions. Today, I'm asking Larissa about her journey from chemical engineer to venture capital and now entrepreneurship. Expect to learn how to align weekly tasks with a long-term vision, why going after two markets at once makes strategic sense, how to navigate public and private funding sources, and much more. Hi, Larissa. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Hey, Juan. It's a pleasure to be here talking to you today.
I want to start asking you about your background. You're a chemical engineer that has experience working in the VC side, and now you are an entrepreneur. I want to start asking you how you got from being a chemical engineer to work in the venture capital side of things.
When I started college in my chemical engineering major, initially I thought I was going to be a scientist. Since I can remember, I was very passionate about science discovery, and everything that goes with it. But during my college years, I understood that the lab space was not really for me. The way things go in research, especially the speed of it, it's a little bit slower than I like to work. I tried a little bit harder in inserting myself in this research world. I spent 2 years studying in France in an engineering school, really focused in scientific discovery and innovation with very different scientific backgrounds. But then again, I understood I was really passionate about science, but the lab atmosphere was not for me. Being on the code all day with chemical solutions, it was just not for me. So when I got back to Brazil, I started to study a little bit what was the innovation scenario in our country, especially in my city. What do we have here happening in terms of innovation, disruption that is related to science somehow? And that, I think that's an idea that I got from my time in France, because the school I was there, they were really, really connected with innovation. Everything that becomes a good scientific paper also becomes a good startup in their ecosystem. So everything is very connected there. So I think I got back home with this idea in mind. And what I found out here in Brazil is that there was a growing scene of biotech innovations. And I thought, that's it. I can use my scientific knowledge, but in a completely different way that I would do inside a lab. So I firstly joined a VC focused on biotech here in Brazil as their science grows. So my job was to evaluate startups and investment opportunities from the scientific aspect of it. So my job there was basically to be a Google translator. I talk to the scientists. I have a background to understand what their innovation is about. I know how to navigate papers to understand what's been done to try to solve this problem they're solving, if their solutions actually make sense, if it actually has an important innovation aspect. So I was doing this role, but also I was inserted in this venture building community where I learned a lot about intellectual property management, how to strategically plan a pipeline of products, everything that is besides the science that is also important for a scientific startup to go well. So my scientific background led me into this world, but my experience working with VC led me to everything else. And the combination of this two words led me to become an entrepreneur. So when I was working in VC, I met APEXzymes, the startup I'm currently a partner at. And my first contact with them was as an investment opportunity for the VC I was working at. So our first interaction was in this aspect. And that's how I got here. So we went from, I want to be a scientist, to maybe I can use science some differently. And then I became an entrepreneur that can navigate both worlds.
You mentioned that you wanted to focus more on innovation because you felt that the lab wasn't your place. But I want to ask you, what made you believe that you wanted to become an entrepreneur, to leave the VC side of the table and start a company?
After I was in the VC market for a few months, maybe 2 years already, I think, I started noticing that I wanted something more. The role as an investor is really important for innovation, but I was lacking something. So I started talking to people with a lot more experience than I had in the field to understand what was this aspect that was missing for me. And some of these people, they told me, you have something in you that may lead you to be a good entrepreneur. You question yourself a lot. You have a lot of will to make things happen. These are important skills for an entrepreneur. So me, I never thought about it. I want to be an entrepreneur. This was proposed to me. I was guided to think about it. Maybe I have what it takes to be an entrepreneur. That's curious. Let's explore this possibility. And these conversations happened in the moment that the opportunity with APEXzymes appeared in the horizon. So it was the perfect timing. People telling me maybe I have the skills and the opportunity coming up. So it just happened in the right timing, I think.
You said that one characteristic is that you question yourself. Is that assessing different opportunities, or is there something about self-doubt about that?
Both things. I would say the self-doubting is more like an enemy for an entrepreneur. But I think people that told me that I question myself a lot and that should help me in an entrepreneurship is that I think what they mean is that I'm always wondering, is this really going to work? Is this the best way to solve this problem? Is this problem actually that relevant? So it's my curiosity. I think that might be an aspect as well. So I think it's the combination of curiosity, a little bit of self-doubt, because if I'm wondering, is this the best way to solve this problem? Maybe I'm not trusting my solution so much. So yeah, the fact that I'm always questioning for many reasons is what makes me unsettled. And I think the fact of being unsettled is what moves an entrepreneur sometimes. At least that's what works for me.
Correct. I feel that self-doubt may have more of a negative connotation, but perhaps it has more to do with having an open mind or checking twice or three times.
Exactly. And never trusting what your first plan was too much. Of course, you have to be confident, but if you become blind by your confidence, then maybe you're doing a wrong decision and you're not noticing it. And as an entrepreneur, we will make mistakes. Everyone will, but you have to realize your mistakes as fast as possible. So it's important to not be blind by your confidence as well.
If you could go back in time, what advice would you give yourself before starting APEXzymes?
That's a hard question. And as we're already talking about self-doubt, I think I would say you probably have what it takes. Go ahead with this opportunity, because it might be really scary to lead a startup. It's a role with a lot of exposure, a lot of responsibilities, and you really need to show up in a good shape every day. Even if you're having a bad day in the background, you have to go up on that stage. You need to show up to the investors meeting, and you need to perform. So self-doubt might haunt you sometimes, and this constant wonder if I do have what it takes. Do I have the right skills? Will I succeed? Maybe you will not, but it doesn't mean you don't have what it takes. Part of being an entrepreneur is failing too, so it's okay. But yeah, to sum up, I think I would say you probably have what it takes. Embrace this challenge.
I wanted to ask you more specifically about APEXzymes. Could you break down what an enzyme is and how are you using it to build a startup around it?
Perfect. So enzymes are natural molecules. Every living thing has enzymes in their bodies. And what they do is basically they help us accelerate complex chemical reactions. So, for example, if someone is intolerant to lactose, the sugar that is contained in milk, this person will have a bad time trying to digest this lactose. So they take an enzyme called lactase that will help them with this chemical reaction of breaking down the lactose sugar. So yeah, that's what enzymes will do in our bodies, in different industry sectors. Honestly, everything you think of, there is probably an enzyme behind it. So for what enzymes are, that's what they do. They help us accelerate breaking down complex matter in a much more fast and specific way. How do we build a startup around it? Well, if you need to break down complex structures very productively, very sustainably, with low cost, and you will probably need enzymes or other sorts of chemical processes to help you overcome this challenge of breaking down the structure. But if you opt for the enzymatic way, which is very sustainable and very effective, and that's good motivation to choose this route, this path. But you may encounter a challenge that is the extremely high cost of this enzyme formulations. The more complex the structure you're trying to break down, the more complex will be the enzyme formulation you need for this process. And in complex enzyme formulations are very, very expensive to produce. We're talking about working with multiple bioreactors, multiple microorganisms. And so the factory to actually achieve this final formulation will be a very complex one, very complex processes. And naturally, the product is very expensive. And sometimes the application is not cost effective at all. So for us as a startup, what we're doing is offering a solution. We're offering a new process to make this cost more viable so the industries can opt for this sustainable and effective process with cost effectiveness going with it.
And what's the main value proposition of APEXzymes around producing enzymes?
As the main gap to include enzymes in some of those processes is the high cost of those enzyme formulations. Our value proposition is to overcome this gap so we can enter the market with low cost enzymes to unlock new enzyme applications. So for example, we have a client in the paper and pulp industry, in the paper and pulp sector. What they told us, we understood how the enzyme application will work, technically speaking, but the enzymes we have on market today, they are just too expensive. The math is not positive in the end. So we would have a positive sustainable aspect of this application, but the cost is not allowing this application to go forward. So what this client is asking us, can you deliver me an enzyme solution that will make this cost effective? So that's the value proposition we're bringing. Our enzyme production process is much, much cheaper than what traditional industries are doing to produce these formulations. And so we can unlock new applications and meet the needs for this type of clients.
What part of your value proposition would you say that excites the most to potential investors?
I would say that the key aspect of APEXzymes is that we're putting together sustainable solutions and cost effectiveness. Sometimes those two aspects, they don't go together. You have beautiful scientific breakthroughs. We're going to stop cows from emitting methane. We're going to replace all plastic in the world. But the solution is just so expensive that very few markets will be willing to pay for this sustainable aspect. And that's exactly what excites investors. We're bringing these two together. We're offering sustainable alternatives that are cost effective. So I think that's really, those are consequences of our value proposition, actually. Our innovation is completely around producing cheap enzymes. But the markets we're trying to deliver these enzymes to, those are markets that will both benefit from the sustainable aspect and the cost effectiveness.
Cost-effective solutions that are also sustainable. What part of your value proposition you think that investors don't usually catch about APEXzymes?
I think what they usually don't get is not necessarily about our value proposition, but sometimes it's not so obvious why what we're doing has not been done before. So, okay, you're delivering cheap enzymes, but like, how are you going to compete with the leaders in the enzyme market? And the answer is in the technological aspect. We are achieving scientific results that are unprecedented. And sometimes if we say we're delivering the same enzymes as other competitors, they are just cheaper, it may sound not disruptive as it actually is. Because the fact that we are unlocking new markets with these low cost enzymes, this is quite disruptive, especially because we're delivering this enzyme for a sustainable reason. So it's a very urgent demand that many markets have. So everything kind of goes together, and then sometimes it's not that obvious. Okay, so you're just making something that already exists but cheaper. It's not wrong. This sentence is not wrong. The problem is that it doesn't catch the aspect of unlocking the new market, and it also it doesn't show the challenges, the scientific and technical challenges we're able to overcome in our scientific team that allows us to deliver these cheaper enzymes that competitors will hardly achieve. So I think those technical and the value proposition behind giving cheaper enzymes on market, that's a little bit difficult to catch. We need to dive deeper to leave this message more clear for the public.
This show is brought to you by We Are Palta. Communicating science and its impact through your business can be hard. We Are Palta has a team of scientific communicators, designers, and specialists dedicated to bridging the gap between science and community. Having worked with more than 25 Deeptech startups and VC firms, We Are Palta offers from creating your brand identity to managing your social media. Go to wearepalta.com, that is wearepalta.com, and learn more. You were mentioning unlocking new markets, and you mentioned a couple minutes ago the paper manufacturing industry. What other industries are you actively engaging with?
We are currently focusing on biofuels, especially ethanol and biogas, and also in cattle farming, cattle feed more specifically. Paper and pulp industry is definitely on our pipeline, but it's still in a more exploration state, I would say. For biofuels, the rationale is basically we're delivering enzymes that will help break down biomass, which is like waste from agriculture. And our enzymes allow for this biomass to become smaller particles of sugar so that the industry can ferment to produce either ethanol or biogas. Some industries already use enzymes for this purpose, but the cost of enzymes can account for more than 30% of the production of this type of biofuels. And our goal is to lower this at least in 50%. So we're looking for making biofuels a lot more cost effective. Again, if we say we're delivering the same enzymes, they are just cheaper, it may sound not as disruptive as it actually is. But when we say we're making biofuels a lot more competitive in terms of price to consumers, then it kind of clicks differently. And for cattle feed, the idea is quite similar to that of the person that is intolerant to lactose and is using the enzyme lactase. Just cattle feed, the cows usually eat things a lot more complex than lactose. So you need more complex enzyme formulations to help them with their digestion process. And what we're doing is producing this enzyme formulation that will act on the fiber part of what cows are eating. And the idea is that this fiber will be a lot more easier to digest. This has an impact on the productivity of the animal. We're looking at an increase of at least 30% for both milk and meat production. And also, it has a sustainable aspect because during the digestion of fibers, this is the moment the cows more emit methane. So if we help them digest fiber more easily, then they are emitting less methane during this process. So it's a win-win, more productivity and less methane.
better digestion means less methane, which means less pollution. So that's the sustainable part. About the productivity, how does the animals become more productive thanks to a better digestion?
Our enzymes will allow them to digest what they're eating faster and better. So usually cows can absorb up to 50% of the fibers they're eating. If we can make this fiber digestion better for them, they will be able to absorb more of what they're eating. So that's where the productivity happens. And also there is the speed of the process. Usually rumination can take long hours, like more than 24 hours to happen. And the enzymes will make this process a lot faster for them.
How hard it is to convince farmers to switch to this alternative? Do they see the value upfront, or is there a very long process of convincing these farmers?
I think it's important to say, first of all, that our business model is B2B. So we're mainly talking to animal nutrition companies. And of course, we will have to take a closer look on how our enzymes are being applied. So we will eventually also get in touch with farmers. But what we have discussed so far with animal nutrition companies is that our enzymes would work as an additive, and it would probably be mixed with other additives that the farmers are already giving to the animals. Some vitamins, some probiotics, and the enzymes would be mixed in this pack. So maybe the farmer they won't even know that they're giving enzymes to their animals. They are just aware that they are giving additives to increase productivity. So of course there is some moment of teaching the farmers what this new additive is, how it will work, how much he will benefit from it. But it's really more in the sense of, this is a new additive, you will gain in productivity, and you don't have to worry much about it. It's already incorporated in the additive formulations you're already giving to your animals.
So it's acting as an ingredient in the formulation that they are already feeding their animals, correct?
Exactly, yeah.
About commercial traction, how have you gained commercial traction so far?
We're still an early stage startup. We just had our MVP ready in the second semester of 2024. We got our first in vitro results, which were really positive. And before we even started our R&D, of course, we talked with dozens of clients in the sector to validate our value proposition. But what we heard from most of them is that they do need to see this perform in living animals before compromising with anything. So we are running our R&D. We had these in-lab results in the end of 2024, and we presented them to some of those clients that had talked to us previously. And some of them were really impressed by the in vitro results it got. And we are now discussing the possibility of having them as partners to conduct the tests in living animals. But this is kind of tricky for us because we do want our clients to be close to us, because if they test and they see the result is good, of course, there's more chance of them buying it. But also, we don't want to close other opportunities. We want to have the result in living animals owned by APEXzymes, so we can show them and dial and have conversations based on them with different clients from this sector. So we are trying to balance this right now. But the fact that clients reacted positively to our results and are interested in moving forward to partnerships and testing together, we see this as a really positive sign. So we are really excited about it.
I'm sure it's very exciting when clients start saying, yeah, this is actually working and this is something that actually is very useful to increase our production. And how are you communicating this early stage traction to potential investors?
I think we're trying to make clear that the product development is still in an early phase. So it's not plausible to expect formal commitment from a client right now. So we're trying to be honest with this aspect, but also trying to highlight, even though we're still so early in our R&D, we already have clients proposing to negotiate a test in living animals. So we do see this as a positive reaction from them, sign of huge interest from them. So we try to balance this and highlight this aspect. Okay, so it is kind of early to have a formal interest from the client, but look, even though it's kind of early, they are already showing interest. So it's a good sign where we're developing something that actually is interesting for them.
I wanted to ask you about your product roadmap, about your product pipeline. Do you think that your VC experience is helping you in shaping which product are you prioritizing?
That's a good question. I never thought about it. Maybe. We do have a very clear reasoning behind choosing what product we will develop first. And I think my partners, they already had this kind of clear before I joined the team. But I think my experience in VC kind of helped me do the reverse engineer to understand why they choose this product. So it was kind of intuitive to them, but I think I helped in the sense of developing the reasoning and having arguments to sustain why those products are the good ones to start our pipeline. And to give some perspective on what this reasoning is, the first thing that is very important to us is we need to develop products that for sectors that currently lack in low-cost enzyme alternatives, because this is the big value proposition we bring. If the application is already cost-effective, it's not a market for us. It's simple as that. So we do select sectors that can benefit from this low-cost enzyme. The second aspect is the possibility of bringing a sustainable impact. So we are prioritizing these sectors where the use of enzymes can have a sustainable aspect. The third point is how huge is the market. Some applications are really cool. The client is desperate for cheap enzymes, but the market is so small that it would be too risky for me to invest or R&D in this application right now. So the size of the market is really crucial for us. And the fourth aspect is the need for low downstream processes. Let's think, for example, of pharma industries. There are many pharmaceutical processes that do need enzymes, and some of them maybe would benefit from cheaper enzyme alternatives. But to produce something in the pharma sector, you need extremely purified input. And this downstream process would be really complex for us. So it would add barriers for us to scale up our production and even to establish a factory of our own. It would be an extra challenge for us. So we are prioritizing solutions that don't require this huge downstream process. So those are the four key aspects that we have behind our reasoning.
What role does IP play in that reasoning? Is it something that is taking a look afterwards? Is it something that is between there? You mentioned barriers, and I started thinking about barriers of entry.
The IP strategy is the same for every market we're going to enter. So it's not exactly a challenge we need to think about when prioritizing the sectors we're going to aim first. But basically, the strategy is we do have this root technology, which is genetic engineering plus innovation in bioprocess that allows us to deliver cheap enzyme formulations. Okay, this is the core of our technology. And I always like to think of it as a tree. So we do have this core, and this technology can lead to different fruits in this tree. And every fruit is a different sector. It's a different strain we're engineering. It's a different enzyme formulation. And for each of those, we have a different patent. Because for every formulation we're delivering is a different strain that we have engineered. And this strain can be protected by patents. So the core technology is a know-how that we're keeping as an industrial secret. But the final strains that we obtain thanks to this technology, those are the things we're protecting with patents.
So you are creating a machine that produces patents, and you are leveraging the learning curve of developing these strains. You have multiple strains, but most of the knowledge that it takes to develop them, you are able to use it in another strain. Is that correct?
Exactly. For example, we do have some genetic engineering aspects that are focused on minimizing problems during scale up. The microorganism might behave differently during scale up. It might cause some problems. So we don't work them genetically to minimize these problems. And this is something common to every technology we're going to implement. It doesn't matter if it's biofuels, if it's animal feed, all of those strains, they will have this common aspect. So yes, some of those steps, they are common to every strain. And then we go to a step of personalizing the formulation. And this is where the fruits start to appear.
You were saying before that the scientific team of APEXzymes already had figured out which market to prioritize and that you reverse engineered the reasons behind that. I feel that sometimes you may have the winning strategy, but if you're unable to communicate why that's the winning strategy, you don't get funding. And if you don't get funding, you never get to implement that strategy.
Yes, it's exactly like this. Communicating is very important as a startup.
Talking about communicating, what's something that you want potential investors to know about APEXzymes that you think that it would be a major unlock on your fundraising process?
A lot of things.
I mean, feel free to make a list.
No, I would say the main message that is very important for investors to remember, what I want them to remember after they are finished talking to me. We overcame challenges, technical challenges, both in genetic engineering and in bioprocess that allows us to develop this proprietary and innovative way of producing enzymes. We can protect the final results of this technology with patents. We are working in time and geography that are on our favor to build this technology. And we are delivering products that can go hand in hand with sustainable solutions that are very, very urgent. So APEXzymes can align a lot of odds in our favor. So it's a very particular project, and the main message is, to sum up what I said here, the main message is very challenging technical issues that we have overcome. We can protect this technology with patents. We are already ahead of competitors in terms of time and geography, and the market demand for a low-cost sustainable solution is something we can achieve. We can deliver answers to these urgent questions. So it's the time to deliver this technology to the market.
I'm curious. Sometimes I see Deeptech startup founders trying to entice investors by showing the capabilities of their platform and saying we can do this type of product, this type, and in hopes of showing a larger total addressable market, they get too horizontal and they get spread too thin. How do you find the sweet spot between developing only one product and going too broad?
That's a really interesting aspect. So I mentioned that one of the main key for us to select the products we're going to develop first was the market size. So I think that's the main aspect to guide these two aspects. So you do want to show your investors that your technology can develop products for vast industries. That's a positive aspect, of course, but you also need to show that you are focused. You are focusing your resources to get as fast as you can in the market with something that actually works. So if you choose to deliver a first product for a huge market, then that's probably a great start, because if this one product works, then you're already in a huge market to explore. In our case, we are focusing on two different markets. And the idea here is to balance some other aspects, some other risks. For example, biofuels is not as much as a big market as animal feed is. There is some innovation aspect inside the biofuel industry, and the animal feed industry is a very established and traditional one, very spread, very, very large possibilities of clients. So it's a more mature market, I would say. So we're trying to balance the innovation with traditional market size, kind of small, but really growing fast with already huge one. So we're trying to balance all these different aspects. I think sometimes investors ask us, why are you doing two products in the same time instead of focusing on your resources in one? And the answer is it would be too risk for us to focus all our energy in only one product. So two is really the sweet spot. Like even in the scientific aspect, maybe something will get delayed or some regulatory affair will stop us. I don't know. So even this can be balanced with these two products. Biofuels is a very industrial application, very little regulatory aspect. And for animals, there is some regulatory affairs that we will need to go through. Maybe there is some delay aspect in this process. We can't trust that the timing will be as we plan, because that's something we learn very fast in a startup. You have a plan and it very rarely will go according to plan. So it's a way to find balance. It's the sweet spot between focus and balancing risks. Two products, two different markets, they counterbalance characteristics.
Interesting. You're saying that having two products being developed at the same time has more to do with de-risking the chances of success rather than showing a larger market.
Yes. If I want to show a large market, animal feed alone is a billionaire market. So it would look beautiful in a pitch deck. But the first time the investor asks, okay, what about regulatory affairs? It might get us out of guard. And even the question you brought us earlier, how are you going to convince more farmers to use your enzymes? That might be a little bit time consuming as well. So for biofuels, my clients already know what are the benefits of using enzymes. So it's a different aspect. So yeah, it's really about de-risking. You got the precise word.
We have been talking for the past minutes about the type of market, but we have been focusing on the industry. I wanted to focus now on the geographical aspect of these markets. Do you have some definition on which countries would be the ones that makes the most sense for APEXzymes to start commercializing?
Well, we are based in Brazil, so we definitely have a go-to-market planned around the country. Both biofuels and animal feed are huge markets here. So we do plan to validate the performance of our products in Brazil first. Of course, we definitely look to American markets because they for animal feed, it's a huge market and it's a market very open to innovation. And with large consumer markets in general, for every industry when we want to enter, the US is a very huge opportunity as well. If we look more into biofuels, I would say Europe is definitely on our radar. But again, this is very long term and it's on our plans. But the concrete idea is go to market in Brazil, validate the performance here. And when we are already gaining some traction, then we can start planning our international expansion.
I know that you have a background in venture capital, but I want to ask you, what's something that you recently learned about funding for biotech startups that you wish you knew earlier?
That's a great question. Something I heard often when I was working in VC was that money is not a problem. If the project is good enough, the money will show up. And there is definitely some truth in it, but if we take a look at VCs actually investing in deep biotech, they are not that many, especially if you start looking at the niche we are. Deep biotech, pre-revenue, early stage, Latin America. So it's a lot of odds, a lot of specific niches we're in. So in the end of the day, there's not that many investors that fit all of these criteria. So I think I would like to have known before that, yeah, money, there's a lot of money out there. There's a lot of funds willing to understand deep biotech, but really take this with some caution because there are not that many. You really need to dig deep to find investor that is actually a fit with what you're doing.
And how do you start digging? For the founders listening to this, what's the first place to start and How do they find those VC startup fit, if you will?
I would say the perfect place to start is looking at startups that have a lot in common with you and who were their first investors, who invested in them when they were in the stage you are right now. So platforms like Crunchbase will be your best friend in this moment. You just throw the names of the top 15 startups that look like you and really study the portfolio of all funds that operated in these startups. This is where you start. Then a next step could be taking a look in funds that have co-invested with these funds. They are probably a fit too. It's a good place to start. But and if you're already taking these startups that look like you, connecting with these founders might be a good idea as well. They can help you with warm intros, or they can maybe talk about investors that were not in your radar. Maybe they are a little bit more stealth mode. Maybe they're not on Crunchbase. Maybe they are an angel investor that don't show up online so much. So connecting with founders also help a lot.
We will get back to talk to Larissa in just 30 seconds, but first, let me tell you about We Are Palta. Raising funds for your startup requires clear and effective communication with your potential investors. That's why We Are Palta works with Deeptech companies to highlight your team strengths and your commercial traction. Discover how graphic designers can enhance your pitch deck by going to the link in the description below or by visiting wearepalta.com. That is WEAREPALTA.com. We talked a lot about VC funds. You were mentioning angel investors. What about public funding? What about non-dilutive funding? I know that you recently secured a very large non-diluting fund from the government in Brazil, and I wanted to ask you about that.
Well, this is the advantage of working in some sort of innovation that is really the market is definitely in need right now. If everyone is looking for sustainable solutions, definitely both private and public players will be interested in making this a reality. So the fact that we were working a lot with biofuels, which has been an increasing demand in the whole world, it made possible for us to develop projects that align with what Brazilian government is also trying to invest on and help become a reality. And I would say non-dilutive funds, they are very, very important for early stage biotechs because to make biotech a reality, it's a lot of capital we're going to need. And the early stage is the moment that VCs will see the most risk on you. You basically have a theory, a hypothesis, and the VC will have to trust your scientists to make this a reality. So VC money can cost really, really expensive in this stage. And a non-dilutive fund is the perfect opportunity to make your science go a little bit further so you have more results to show to investors and to convince them we already have what it takes. We're almost there. We just need capital to this. We already made this de-risking experiments, etc., validations. So it's really crucial for the health of the cap table. Let's put in these words.
Healthy cap table always helps.
Yes.
We met during GRIDX demo day, and I want you to ask you to take me to that moment and share what you learned during the GRIDX experience and what do you think was the main factor that led to that first GRIDX investment?
Well, GRIDX demo day was emotional. It was a really nice moment to conclude this path with them. There is the way I try to deliver my messages as the CEO of APEXzymes is this is already happening with or without you. So the idea is, are you going to join us to make this happen faster, to help us connect with more clients, more potential partners for this? It's going to happen. Are you joining us or not? Basically, that's the reasoning I try to go through. And I think that's the message that GRIDX got really quick. The science is good. The reasoning for go-to-market is good. The solution they're delivering is very urgent for many, many markets. It's going to happen. It will be a reality. It's just a question of time and capital as well. So I think GRIDX got this, and they understood they could contribute to this journey. So I think that's what made them join us. And the whole experience with them during Ignite, during the Build program, it was really important for us partners to connect and build a really healthy relationship. I think besides being an investor and helping us with capital and networking, I think helping us build a healthy relationship between partners, this is the crucial aspect that GRIDX helped us. We as founders, we will disagree sometimes. We will have to have really hard discussions. And if you don't have a healthy relationship that you trust, the relationship will face challenges, and you need to trust that your relationship is bigger than this challenge. We are able to have this difficult conversation. We can take this. So yeah, it's crucial for a startup to move forward. And I think GRIDX has a perfect pipeline to help founders develop this bond.
I totally agree. The challenges will come. It's a matter of how are you prepared? How strong is your relationship with your co-founders to face those adversities?
Exactly.
What advice would you give to biotech or deep tech founders about having this strong relationship? I agree that trust is key, but how can founders build that trust?
I would say it starts with you. Like if you know you're doing the best you can, you're employing all the resources you have in this project, you're being responsible. If you are doing your best, then that's the essential first step you need. You need to be trustable to also develop a trust in others. I think that's the starting point. And really let things happen. Don't try to control everyone. Don't try to know what everyone is doing all the time. Having weekly checking-ins, maybe that's what we do personally. We do have one meeting every week that it's really the moment to line up what everyone is doing, what worked, what didn't work. So we kind of know what is the main responsibility of everyone for the week, but we're not controlling like, hey, are you in the lab? Hey, did you run the experiment you said you would run today? How did it go? No, we know everyone's doing what they're supposed to do, and we don't control one another. We trust they're doing what they're supposed to do. And I think there is another key aspect. For me personally, it works a lot, and it's in the aspect of admiration. I am a huge fan of my co-founders. Like I really admire them as scientists, as people, and this also helps in the trust process, because like they are really great scientists. I'm pretty sure they know what they're doing. They are in the lab. They maybe they said they would do the experiment today, but something happened and they decided to do it tomorrow. Whatever. I'm not going to stress about it. You know, it's the fact that I really admire them as professionals is a great way to build this confidence and trust.
Well, thank you for sharing. It's really amazing to see how your faces glows up when you talk about them.
I'm a huge fan of them. They know it. I say this all the time. I think recognizing it also helps. Like I say all the time, guys, you are amazing. Like this is really interesting science you're doing. I used to say this even before I joined the team. And I think that was part of the reason why they wanted me with them, because they saw that I really trusted their work. So it's important to have this.
You were mentioning some weekly meetings for aligning activities, and that's really important for sure. I wanted to ask you, how are you aligning those weekly activities to a long-term vision? How do you ensure that your weekly tasks, your quarterly or monthly goals tie up to that long-term vision?
That's a nice point to explore. I said earlier that something that I learned being in a startup is that you have a plan, and rarely the plan becomes a reality. So I think these weekly meetings, they are perfect to adjust the long-term vision we have. Because if we can very quickly see, okay, so we thought it would take a month, but like it's been 2 weeks and it didn't move at all. So maybe we got it wrong and it's going to take 3 months. So the weekly meetings, they help us see, okay, we will need to move everything. Maybe it would be faster. Maybe it would take longer. So we are always recalibrating the route based in this weekly reports that we have with each other. So yeah, it's maybe a balance. It's not micromanaging your time, and it's also not just trusting the process and trusting that the plan will become a reality. It's really the sweet spot between, we planned this. Are we doing good? Not that much. Let's recalibrate these expectations. So yeah, I think that's it. But also, these weekly meetings, they also taught me that patience is really important for founders, especially for this relationship between entrepreneur founder and scientific founder. Because sometimes the plan is, we will have this result in a month. And you go first week of meeting, second, third week, and nothing has happened. And sometimes I will start getting desperate. We said it's going to happen in a month. It's been 3 weeks, nothing moved. What's happening? Should we recalibrate the plan? And the scientists, they're like, trust us, trust the process. And finally, in the last week of the plan, it actually happens. The experiment runs perfect. So yeah, sometimes just not getting blind by the fail of the week, it helps too. So just breathe, wait a little bit. Let's see how it goes.
Great. Yeah, I'm sure that when you trust your co-founders, it's easier to breathe.
But you have to trust your co-founders. If you don't trust them, it's time to rethink this partnership.
Wow. What's something of your mentality as a founder that you think that a lot of deep tech founders would benefit from adopting?
I will go ahead with the first thing that I thought, because maybe this is something we have to talk more about. The startup culture, the innovation culture is very driven by hard working. And hardworking is very important. I love what I do. I'm a huge fan of hardworking. Don't get me wrong, but not necessarily hardworking and working all the time means the same thing. So I think, like I mentioned, patience is very important, and also learning when is the right time to hard work is very important, especially as the entrepreneur founder of the startup. For the scientists, their working routines will be very dependent on what is the science they're working with. For us, we're working with microorganisms, so it's their time. We can't control that. But for the entrepreneur, maybe you don't need to go in every event, every pitch opportunity. Maybe you can breathe a little bit and see, is this the strategic public I want to dialogue with? Is my audience in this place? Is my client in this place? Maybe breathing a little bit and thinking strategically before saying yes to every opportunity that shows up. Maybe that's an underlooked ability. Like, I think we're sometimes pressured by this culture of, you need to be working 15 hours a day as a startup founder, or you're doing something wrong. And I think I believed this for a few years, but I'm starting to understand that for me personally, it doesn't work. It's really about being smart on my decisions and when I'm going to involve and why I'm involving in this opportunity.
How do you decide what to prioritize? I heard once that being an entrepreneur, it's very complicated because it's not so much deciding what to do. It's more about deciding what not to do, because you are your own boss and you have a world of opportunities out there. What's your reasoning behind what to prioritize?
I think before choosing what to prioritize in terms of what I'm going to do now, you need to have a very clear goal. You need to be very clear on where you want to get. If you don't know where you want to get, every opportunity will look perfect because, everything kind of becomes meaningless. So if you do have a very clear message you want to deliver, a very clear target you want to achieve, and a very clear goal, result, product you want to deliver, then it becomes easier to prioritize. That's where I stand.
Great. Before we wrap up, I wanted to go back to fundraising and ask you if you are fundraising anytime soon.
We are fundraising now. As you mentioned, we did get a very large non-dilutive fund, but this project is very structured and rigid in terms of capital use. So there is some aspects that are not covered by this project, and we are fundraising to complement this non-dilutive fund. So we do have an open round, and I'm open to conversations.
Great. So what's next for APEXzymes?
2025 will definitely be a huge year for us. We have scale-up tests already scheduled. We have this huge visibility we're gaining thanks to this non-dilutive fund we got in December 2024. Some of our MVPs will be achieving the goals our potential clients proposed to us. So a lot is about to happen. We're really excited. I think the last thing on our way right now is this open round. So as soon as we close the round, and we are actually pretty optimistic about it, so we should close it soon, I hope. This is the last thing on our way to just focus all our energy in making these products reach their markets.
Larissa, this has been great. I want to ask you one last question. Where can people find you and stay up to date with APEXzymes?
We are always posting important updates on LinkedIn, so please feel free to follow both APEXzymes page or connect with me directly. My scientific founders are a little bit low profile, but I'm always updating the network there on LinkedIn. So please feel free to send an invitation. And I can also share my email contact in the description, maybe. I would be more than glad to chat through email as well.
Yeah, of course. I'll share all that on the show notes. And once again, thank you very much. Thank you very much for being part of the show.
Thank you for the invitation. It was really a great chat.
Oh, thank you. So all the best for you. Until next time.
Until next time.
Thank you for watching this episode of Science VC. I hope you found it valuable and insightful. If you did, consider subscribing so you don't miss the great conversations coming up in future episodes. And if you're looking for more, YouTube's algorithm has selected this video for you. It's a great way to keep exploring deep tech and venture capital, so give it a try. I think you'll find it interesting. That's it for now. I'm JP, and I'll see you in the next episode.